Okay, so I would like to welcome Ms. Zara Khan from Education USA. And ma'am, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, then we can start with the question answer.
Hi everyone, my name is Zara and I'm an advisor in the Karachi office. For everyone interacting with us today, Education USA is a network of global advising services that is affiliated with the U.S. State Department, and we advise students on the college application process. All of our offices have advisors that have graduated from universities in the U.S., so we use that to inform our advising process as well. And we are the official source of education, official source of information on education in the U.S., higher education in the U.S. So thank you for letting me introduce myself.
All right. Okay, ma'am. Since we are in right now registering for the SAT and stuff like that, so if you could just tell me um, what are the extracurricular activities. Let's start there, because a lot of students these days are asking questions about extracurricular activities. What extracurricular activities, if at all, are good American universities looking at? Now, I do understand from your position that you cannot endorse any university, but I want you to speak generally.
Yes, so that's a good question. American universities definitely are interested in students that are pursuing various extracurricular activities, and what that means is, rather than having like 5 volunteer positions in your summer right before college, you want to think about showing sustained and honest interest. So that means meaningful engagement with an activity that you truly enjoy, right? And then you can show that meaningful engagement by either you remarkable in the summer that you have engaged in this activity. If you're an art student, maybe you like create a portfolio. If you're interested in public sector or governance, maybe you have some leadership position in particular extracurricular club or activity that you can kind of showcase. So I mean, either you can showcase extracurricular activities and passion through time, or you can show it through leadership or through particular accomplishments. Or if you're like an art photography student, maybe you show it through the various things that you completed. So that's important to universities. Whereas if you just have like a bunch of things that you tagged on last minute, they're gonna know that it's not really that authentic, and it's gonna not look as good on your application.
What is the relationship between these activities and scholarships?
So when colleges look at your application, they look at it holistically. So extracurriculars are one component of your application. And if you have really good extracurriculars, something that's really impressive or remarkable, and that also, resonates with a particular university that you're going to, then that can definitely boost your chances of both getting in and getting financial aid. There's no specific like one-to-one ratio of this. I couldn't tell you how much the likelihood increases because it's so subjective based on the college and based on the one reading your application. But generally, yeah, it does increase your chances of getting a scholarship, and also helps you stand out, because when you're looking for scholarships, you're going to be with a bracket of students that probably has similar grades, probably has majority A's, probably have high SAT scores, and one of the differentiating factors for you can be your extracurricular involvement, even if that's like 100 hours of community service, or some artistic talent or some interest in sports, whatever that may be. But it definitely can help, can make the college like you more, and then be more susceptible to potentially giving you more financially. So that's usually how colleges look at it. It's not. I wouldn't say that it's a deterrent. The backbone of your application is always going to be your grades or your scores, but it is still an integral component it, and also the type of extracurricular activity you've engaged in and how you present that is very important. So, if you did like 150 hours of community service, but you couldn't really explain why, how it ties into your future goals, or, what you learned from it, you can't really reflect on the things that you've done and show them in a way that is impressive or that shows some sort of growth or internal awareness, or even just some commonality with the university you're applying to, then I would say that it's less effective than if you do all those things. So that's why it's really important to also research the university you're going into, because it's not just what am I showing on my profile, it's also what are universities, what is a specific university I want to go to, what are they looking for, and what matches between them. So it's very much like a two-way street with something like that.
All right. So I think you used two very important things, and actually, what I'm doing right now is I'm asking you the difficult questions first, because the curse and genius of interviews these days is that you ask the easy things first and then leave the difficult bit for later on. But I want to start with the difficult thing. So there were two very important and very good things that you spoke about. One was what makes you stand out, and the other is what a student took from his or her activities. So if you were to make a checklist of what makes you stand out, I mean, you've studied in the United States, so when you made a checklist of what made you stand out, what were the things that you spoke about? And secondly, how do you demonstrate what you have taken away from a particular activity as a student?
So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a specific checklist that makes you stand out. I think it's more just about the way that you articulate the kind of person you are and, all the different aspects of your personality. And there's a couple of ways in your application that you can do that, right? So, like on the Common Application, you have to, which is the portal that you use to apply for college in the US, they ask you for a main essay, and this essay is very specific to your personality and to you as an individual, and less so about like a specific academic field or like an academic question. So that is one of the areas where you can kind of showcase how unique you are, and then that can be substantiated by the various activities that you kind of carried out. So I guess when I was applying to university, I applied as a biology major, but I really liked music, so I talked a lot about that in my essay. I talked about it in my extracurricular activities, and it was really simple things. So in my essay, I did performances in school, but in my essay, I just talked about, why music matters to me, and I explained like various lyrics in different songs and how they resonated with me. So it can just be as simple as that, it just shows, it's about showing specifically what aspect of something you relate to or you can contribute to. And so like if you have, and the way that you stand out is by not being generic about it. So I'm sure that there's a lot of students who probably like music or who like sports, but everyone has a different reason for why they do, and that's where the ability to articulate why something matters to you, and articulate your own values, and articulate how something resonates with you is, so important. So one aspect is actually engaging in those activities, or like understanding what that thing is for you or what makes you you, and then the other aspect of it is actually how do you write about it in a way that's impressive and meaningful. And that's why we recommend to students that like don't try to write your essays in the last minute. These are not O-level essays. These are very self-reflective essays. They're creative essays. They ask a lot of you, and so they need a lot of time for you to actually think about what you're going to write. Any student of ours that's worked with us or that's been successful, they've probably gone through about 8 to 10 rounds of feedback of just going through their essay, and then there's different components in your application. So there is a specific section where you can talk about your extracurricular activities as well. And then every college you apply to has a supplementary essay where they ask you, why do you want to come to this college? And then that's where you can kind of tell them, this is a specific quality of mine that I think relates to your college. If you're applying to a college that's really interested in biology, for example, and you want to study that, like you can mention that in your extracurricular activities and say like, I know that XYZ University, Johns Hopkins, for example, is really interested, is really looking for innovators or like scientific, future scientists. And then something that I've done in my work or like in school is work in XYZ lab or conduct this independent research in this particular field. And so I think I could expand on this, when I go to university. It's all about being specific and just figuring out, how going to like the whatever level of detail that you specifically can provide, and also going into the detail that other universities give you. Because if you just say, I like research and this university is looking for people who do research, that's not impressive. But, delving into the type of research you've done, why you enjoy it, why it resonates with you, what impact you think it could potentially have or not have, what issues you think there are with it, exploring that shows a level of nuance and understanding that actually helps the admissions officer kind of, understand where you're coming from, and also more likely to be impressed by you and your, I guess, authenticity.
And that actually brings me to, because you've already mentioned it, when you showcase it, I mean, when we speak about showcasing the talent or showcasing your ability, I think the place where we showcase it is our college essay. So just tell us a little bit about the importance of the college essay, and what is the committee looking at, and how does a student go about making. And Zara, I think that the college essay is I think not just, it's not just more difficult than the O-level essay. I think it's in many ways it's more difficult than the A-level essay as well, because it is very self-reflective. So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
For sure. So yeah, I mean, the college essay, it's definitely a process. I would say it's probably the most subjective and trickiest when you're filling out your application. And there's a couple ways that, you'll be assessed on it. So one of that is going to be the content, which is what you actually talk about and how meaningful it is, how honest it is, how unique it is. And then the other aspect of the essay is also testing, your analytical abilities, your ability to articulate things in good language, because, in college you're gonna encounter a lot of reading, you're going to have to do a lot of writing, so it's also looking at your writing skill. And this skill is a bit different because you're not really regurgitating information. Everything you're writing is or should be original and authentic. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is it looks for how well you know yourself. And that doesn't mean that you have to know everything about what you want to do or that you need to have some solid plan. It's just about, I guess, even if you don't know that, it's about knowing what you don't know about yourself, right? So it is just looking for self-awareness. It's looking for, have you done anything that's impressive or overcome anything, something about your personality that could be impressive. And it doesn't have to be a hardship. So a lot of students make the mistake of like thinking that they have to write about something that they like suffered through, or something traumatic for them to make an impact. But actually, it's probably not the best way to go about it. And that's actually something we recommend students avoid doing, just because it's so overwhelming at this point. So I think the main thing with the college essay is don't try to pretend to be something you're not. Just try to find out who you actually are, and then you can think about how you're going to show that. So it is actually really important to know like what interests you or what you're passionate about, and that doesn't have to be an academic field. It's also important for you to have a sense of like why you're doing this or what you'll gain from going abroad, because everyone has kind of specific reasons for doing so. But for some, it's education is going to be instrumental in getting to whatever career and aspirations they have, and for others, it's intrinsic. It's just intrinsic motivation, being intellectually curious, all of that. So that's another thing that you can kind of show in your essay, which is what is your specific aspiration here. It's not necessary, but it just like there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. There's a bunch of different essay prompts, and you can kind of pick whichever one resonates There's one about, overcoming challenges, and there's others about just, something that makes you happy or something that you're passionate about. So you can kind of pick and choose based on what you feel most strongly for, but it should come from a place of, authenticity, self-reflection, and well researched. If you're talking about, a particular field you're interested in, or if you're saying you really like science or you really like research, it's important to show that and not just say it. So if you're saying I'm really interested in, AI, give me examples of that. Talk about the programming languages you've learned, or what it is about coding that interests you, versus just, generically saying that you like, that you're interested in AI because it has the potential to advance humans, technology. That's a very generic statement. So it's less about what you write about and more about how you write about it and how well backed up that is, and what the quality of your writing is. So we recommend to students just to start early, brainstorm your ideas first. A lot of students get bogged down by thinking, we need to have some really impressive life story. We need to have cured cancer to be, to stand out in an essay. But really all you need is some kind of original thinking, and even that can just be done through a simple process of just being analytical about yourself and your life and your values and where they may have stemmed from. And if you can just give a good enough story that is presented in an engaging way that showcases your personality or some value that you cherish, that's gonna make a good essay.
It's interesting, all these points that are coming out. One thing, if you like, I'm talking to my students right now. If you look around at the different products that are there, okay, one reason why those products are successful, I mean, that's the common thing, that's a common denominator in all successful products, and that is that you will find that those products at some stage are engaging. Okay, just look at your mobile apps, just look at the games that you play. I mean, things that are more engaging are more successful, and that is true for you as well. You are marketing yourself, your essay needs to be engaging, because students often come and say, it has happened on more than one occasion, I have not had a traumatic experience in my life, what will I write? No, that's not that. It's you just have to be reflective, and you just have to, like Zara said, you have to show that you are intellectually curious. Zara, that brings me to another point which is normally not discussed, and I want your views on that. When you say things need to be backed up, every claim needs to be backed up by an actual example. I think that applies in equal measure to teachers when they are writing their recommendation letters as well, because a lot of recommendations letters that I get are very standard and very bland. So what are your views on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we don't discuss it that often, just because the students don't write their recommendations. But one thing that's helpful and important is actually engaging with teachers beforehand. If you picked out a few that you have some sort of a relationship with, maybe you do well in their class, you have some sort of rapport with them. Try to get them to really get a sense of who you are, and then it's also helpful to make a list of some of the things that you're highlighting in your Common App, just so that the teachers can highlight it too when they're writing your recommendation. And you can even
So good idea is to make a brag sheet or a resume, and then give it to the teacher. So that would help the teacher in writing a better recommendation.
Yeah, definitely. That is helpful, because it is good for them to know what they're recommending you for. Even if they know what your good qualities are, they can't possibly highlight all of them in a small recommendation letter. But you can give them specific instances of look, I got I did XYZ in this class, or I achieved this, or this is my area of interest. I'm applying to a college that's similarly in this area of interest, so maybe you could talk a bit about how I did this module, or the specific skills that I have. pick a few that you want to highlight, and then it's up to them whether or not they agree that you have those skills and whether they want to write about them. But this at least gives them the chance to kind of have a more tailored recommendation.
All right. And Zara, the applying to the US can be a very research intensive process. So, can you just tell our students how many months before the admission deadline should they start applying?
So if you're an AS student right now, maybe you're going to go to UT next year, we actually recommend that they begin researching over the summer. Deadlines are around November, December if you're looking at the application, but A2 is such a hectic year as is that you just don't get enough time to, research colleges, give your SAT, also study for your mocks, also study for your midterms, and also give your A2s. It's just a lot for a student to do in 1 year. So the summer is a really good time to research colleges and also start thinking about what you would write in your essay, and also give your SATs. Like that is a very crucial summer for anyone going to college because it gives you like ample space to do that research. I would say that any college, like if you're trying to go to college in the US, you need at least 6 weeks of research into the colleges that you're going to because it can be so extensive, and it really depends on your profile and what your interests are, but it also depends on how much scholarship you need or financial aid you need, what your SAT score is. Those are all important factors to think about. And so researching the right college for you and even the right scholarship. Sometimes there's external scholarships that students will find for their specific program of interest that even we don't know about. We have a list of the scholarship and financial aid information, but there's always something new like popping up from different colleges, and so that's why independent research by the student is so important. And then the way that we work with our students is we tell them the College Board has a really good college search tool that you can use as well.
Yes,
The
yes, it
students
does.
can use to filter out colleges. So we tell them, get a list of about 30 or so schools, make an Excel table of that list, put in the average SAT score, put in the average grades that the students have, what is their average financial aid that they offer, and then we go through the list with them and we'll let them know there is no point in applying to XYZ college if you need 60% funding because they're not financially generous to international students. And that's one of the ways that we would then help the student kind of cut down the list. And we recommend having a good balance in the college list. So a few dream schools, a few target schools, and a few safety schools. And then these metrics like SAT scores and so on are the ways that you gauge which one's a target, which one's a safety. And then it's also if you have colleges that you're specifically interested in, you start engaging with them early on. It shows demonstrated interest, which helps your application. So colleges track everything that you do. They track every time you've visited their website, when you've attended any of their events, if you've emailed professors or people in the department. So if you're doing all of that, it looks good on your application as well, but also it gives you more information about the college, and it's something that you can put in your Common App as well, things that you learn. We had a student that talked to alumni from a university that he wanted to go to, and then he referenced that talk that he had in his essay, saying XYZ alumni told me this about the college, and that really resonated with me because of XYZ. So it just helps kind of show that you're actually interested in the college and makes them more likely to want to take you.
All right. What is the importance of SAT when it comes to applying for an undergraduate program in the US?
So the SAT is important if you're looking for substantial financial aid. Now, there are a lot of colleges that have gone test optional. However, we are still recommending to our students that if you do need substantial scholarships, it definitely boosts your application to have a high SAT score. And it also boosts your chances of getting their financial aid. Because we like to think of it as okay, if your application is, a pie, every component has a certain weightage. finished.
Yes,
If
yes.
you remove the SAT, all the other components, then suddenly you have to be way better in to just look as good as you would have if you had that high SAT score in your application. So it's just about overall presentation of your profile, and a high SAT score definitely adds to that. Now, if you are someone who has really good extracurriculars, or maybe has really excellent grades, that's definitely going to help you as well. But it's just it's so competitive that you want to take every chance you can get. You want to utilize every area that you can potentially showcase your abilities in. So we recommend, if you're in AS right now, you just finished your AS level exams, give your SAT by August, because that gives you enough time to then retake it later if you're not happy with your score. And usually students do end up taking it at least twice. I had friends back in mining who took it 3 times as well, because it is, so much of it is just practice. They say it's an IQ test, but it's really about practice and familiarity with the test. So often students in their mock test would get really good scores, and then in the actual test, maybe they're nervous or whatever. They can't perform as well. But once you've had the practice of the actual test once, a lot of students go in a second time and get a much higher score. So that's also something to keep in mind.
And we have reached the 30-minute mark, so if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask, okay? Sayyida Zaihara, you are from where? You're from which class? Hello? Mustafa, do you have any question? Oh, yes. Okay. Alize is asking, is Duolingo acceptable? First and foremost, we've done this SAT. Now let's talk about language proficiency tests. So what are the various language proficiency tests which are acceptable in the United States?
So usually there's the TOEFL that's accepted in the US, and there's depending on which the college you went to, and depending on what your grades were in O level. So if you have an A in your English O level, you're exempt from most colleges for any English proficiency tests. You can also ask your respective, A-level college to write you a letter attesting that you've done all of your education in English.
Yes.
Sometimes colleges also require that. In terms of which colleges accept Duolingo, so there's a bunch that offer it now, that accept it now. It just depends. It just varies across university, but it's one of the other ways that you can kind of showcase your English proficiency. I would say just look up the specific college that you're intending to go to, because off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you out of the 4,000 which ones accept Duolingo. I know that some of the top ranked ones even are accepting it now.
No, yeah.
Like I think that Yale and Cornell and other universities are also accepting it. But
I'm not sure about Yale. I'm not sure about Yale, but I think Cornell is, yes. I'll check Yale.
Yeah. It's just better to, whenever you're unsure, just go to the college website and just see what the latest is, because this is also constantly changing. Like they update it every year, which tests they're accepting and which ones they prefer. So those are also 2 things to keep in mind. But yeah, if you're someone who has an A in your English O levels, you should first look for exemptions, because most likely you won't need to get.
Zara, we regularly give out these letters requesting exemption based on A-level or O-level results. Sorry. So, but there is another thing. Doesn't that create a problem in the visa process? Because the visa officer wants to see how serious a student you are. So yeah. So can you just comment on that during the visa process?
Yeah. So the visa process is actually quite straightforward, because you're only going to get a visa appointment after you've already been accepted into a university, and that university has given you an I-20, which is the you
Yes.
use to
Yes.
apply for your visa. So in your interview, the only thing that's important is for you to showcase, for you to be able to articulate why you want to go to that university, whatever your reasons are. There's no right or wrong reason. I mean, there could be a few wrong reasons, but by and large, if you're interested in the university, you can explain that properly. So even if it's something like, I don't know, it's a small campus, or my best friend goes there and she told me about it. Maybe not the best reason, but just examples of like really explaining why you want to go to that university, that you've researched it enough, that you know about the potential opportunities, maybe you've networked with professors, maybe it's just a really good college or really good program that everyone knows is highly ranked. If you can just explain that, that's essentially what the visa officer is looking for. They just want to make sure that you're a serious student and that you're actually going to attend the college that you've gotten into. They're not assessing your abilities of how you'll do at that college, because that's for the college to decide. And if they're taking you, they probably think you can do well there.
Okay, Alize, you can ask your question yourself.
I wanted to know whether research papers are weighty extracurriculars if we haven't done anything that necessarily reflects our leadership skills.
Yeah, research is a great way to showcase, your intellectual interests in a particular field. It's a way to showcase that you're a serious student. The type of research you do, how long you vacation it, and your contribution to it obviously matters, and that's going to vary based on whatever research you've done. But generally, I would say, yeah, not a lot of students have that, so it definitely looks good on your application. It's all just about looking for ways in which you can kind of show how you're unique, or show that you're being real when you say you're interested in XYZ. So if you're interested in psychology and you've done some sort of research in psychology, that's really going to look good on your application, because they know that you probably are really interested in the field. If you've done something unrelated, it still showcases your ability to do research, still showcases academic interest, so it's still good. But yeah.
I was talking to someone in the University of Manchester in England, and I mean, I know the answer to this question, but I want you to answer it. So, and he said, I don't understand why American college essays emphasize real life stories. So, what is the significance of storytelling in a good essay?
So I mean, American universities are just looking at you as a holistic human being. That's kind of the ethos that most of them follow. This is especially true for liberal arts colleges. So while your specific story might not influence, how well you can do math or computer science,
Yes.
it does matter what kind of person you are and how you fit into the culture of the college. Because again, like, colleges are looking for a community. They're looking to cultivate a specific kind of environment in that college. They're trying to hone you as a person, not just someone who can get a bunch of A's. They want to create individuals that are going to be impressive in every facet of their personality. So they want to see that you can showcase who you are. They want to see how well you know yourself, and because those are not things that are as easily taught, and also there's something that contribute to the overall quality of the student as well. More so than just like you can explain one or two bad grades. Sometimes things happen, and like there's spaces in your life where you just, for whatever reason, cannot perform. But something that's more long-standing about you as a person and also you as a student is going to be who you are, who your values are. Those are the things that are less likely to change, and things that are still really important for you to grow and for you to contribute to the university. So even if that's something like just, if your thing is just being very intellectually curious, I mean, that could translate into you maybe doing research in the university later on, or asking the right questions in class, or just cultivating, an environment of intellectual curiosity. They care about that, and they're looking for balance. They want students that are they want some students who are going to ask the right questions. They want some students who are interested in sports so that their soccer, football teams do well in the seasons, and they're looking for students who are maybe artistically inclined. Maybe they'll win a bunch of awards later and make the college look good. So
if they have
yeah,
been if they have
kind
been
of-
looking for the right soccer players, they've been doing a very bad job. That I can say to you. Because yeah. Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
but that is sort of like, that's, you just have to sort of think about it in terms of what are they also gaining from the students that they recruit. So you often hear of sports scholarships, and students kind of assume that that's just if they're playing football at A levels, you can get a sports scholarship. But yeah, if you want a sports scholarship, you're looking at kind of being nationally recognized in your respective country, and then maybe colleges would like look at you and want to recruit you for that purpose. So think about the purpose of what you would contribute to the college, and then really try to hone in on that, rather than trying to be like, yeah, I played football and I've done research in this, and I'm like 50 billion things, but I'm not really that good at any one thing, because that's not really that impressive to them, that they get that every day.
Right. Um, and I think that when you were speaking about that the college essay and the visa process, I think the key to success, we cannot say that there is a key to success in anything, but I think being honest is the best policy when it comes to a visa interview or anything else. If you're honest and you are genuine, then most likely you will succeed in both. I think you agree with me, Zara.
Yes, a lot of students just are really afraid when they go for their visa interviews, but there's nothing to be afraid of if you've gotten into college and you intend to go there. That is literally all you need to show.
No, one student actually got so afraid. One student actually got so scared that when the visa officer asked him, "Tell me about Wichita State," he said, "Sir, I'm sorry, I never knew there was a state called Wichita." So, and he had been accepted in the Wichita State University, so that's why he was being asked. So one of the things that that students must do, apart from being honest, is they should research at least the university that has offered them the admission, because that is a question that might come up.
It's definitely a question that comes up. It's the first question that comes up, which is, why do you want to go to this university? Why do you want to go to this city? And if your answer is going to be just super generic, you're just going to say, oh, it's one of the best universities in the US, or oh, I want to go to this city because I have family there. Like, those are not amazing reasons. You need to look for something beyond that. It doesn't have to be something really impressive. Again, it just has to be something that has a certain amount of detail. So when I was going to college, I went to New York University, and I just talked about, how I was really interested in kind of how liberal New York was, and I wanted, a variety of cultures. I wanted a city that was loud, and those are just things that I said in my interview, and, that's because that's what it was. That is actually why I wanted to go. And sometimes you might get into a university where you don't care about the state, but you want to go to the university, and that's fine too. I mean, you can just say this might not be the most exciting state in the US, but it's less expensive to live in, and it lets me go to a college that I want to go to. So,
Absolutely, it actually depends upon the personality. I mean, if I'm going someplace, I am least interested in diversity. It doesn't matter to me at all. But for some people, it's very, very important. I would rather like to go to a place where I can sit and learn and be to myself. I'm more of an individualistic kind of person. So that's the thing. There are no right and wrong answers. You might have a particular personality type. Zara can have a particular personality type. I can have a particular preference. The main thing is just being honest and not contradicting yourself in the interview. So, Zara, you mentioned liberal arts, and so tell us a little bit more about the liberal arts college landscape over there.
Sure. So, liberal art colleges, they're a specific private university in the US, and they focus more on holistic education. So they're gonna take you through different subjects. You're gonna be exposed to sciences, social sciences. There's usually a compulsory language component, and the whole premise of liberal arts education is that you're receiving a well-rounded education. So you may be like a computer science major, but you're going to be studying history and
Yes,
you're going to be
yes.
studying art, sociology maybe. If you're a journalism major, you might have to sit through a bunch of physics or math classes. But the point of it is just for you to get an exploration of subjects overall, just the different disciplines for you to just, again, like grow as a person, be well-rounded as an individual. It's important. Liberal art colleges think it's important for you to kind of know a little bit about everything in the world, whether that's history, whether it's religion, it's culture, science, what have you. They're also more financially generous to international students because they have this, they have this environment of equality, of equity. They're very inclusive, and they usually have smaller class sizes. They have a better kind of professor to student ratios because they're trying to really give you that immersive and one-on-one tailored college experience. It really is important for them that they give that. Whereas maybe a larger private institute or state school, you might be sitting in lecture halls that are, 100 students. Liberal art colleges usually won't have that. They also care a bit more about the individual that's applying. I would say liberal art colleges, more than the rest, probably focus a lot on essays as well because they are looking at the well-rounded individual, they are looking at your personality. But they're a really good option for international students, especially those looking for substantial financial aid because they are the most financially generous.
All right. And there's one question that I will ask you. You said that you were interested in music, but I think you later did a degree in philosophy, I think.
Yes.
So that's interesting because I did my MPhil in ethics, which is of course a branch of philosophy. So why philosophy?
I could say why not, but
Why not? Exactly.
Yeah. I just kind of stumbled into it actually. Like I was a biology major when I went to university, and I took an elective philosophy class, and I just found it incredibly interesting. We had a professor from MIT who was talking about how he learned more in the philosophy of physics he did than the actual physics classes he took, and I think it was just a different way of learning because, especially if you're in the British system, you're very used to kind of absorbing information and then just kind of giving it back to people. And philosophy was an area where you really had to think for yourself. You had to develop your own analytical capabilities. There was a lot of argumentation involved, so it was very creative like that. And then there's, contrary to popular belief, there's like a bunch of things you can do after that.
Yes.
One of them is law in the US. So anyone who wants to study law, they usually do philosophy as their undergraduate because it helps them with logic, helps them formulate arguments, helps them with the LSAT. So that's one area. But for me, it wasn't really that. There's also a lot of consulting firms now who look for social sciences majors or like philosophy majors because again, there's a lot of analytical capability involved, and then the other portion of it is just being able to write well, which is one of the most important things that you learn in university. It's going to serve you throughout your life. So yeah, I did philosophy for those reasons, and I coupled it with a bunch of other sciences that I've done. I see that there's a question, so
Yeah,
happy to take.
yeah. Thank you, Zara. We will talk more about philosophy later on. But philosophy, this I raised this question because students must keep this in mind that philosophy, there are two subjects which are very analytical and they develop your logic. One is philosophy and the other is physics. Okay, so even when you're going to if you want to become an economist, and if you have done something like philosophy or physics, you stand out. Okay, it's very interesting. These are two, but then physics comes from metaphysica, which is originally philosophy. So we can talk about that later. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I've been told that we have like 9 minutes left. Daniel, you have a question. This will be the absolute last question. Okay. Daniel, please go ahead. What's your question? Daniel, can you hear me? What's your question? Okay, I think he will type Zara. So just okay, Daniel. If you did not get a seat in August, then you will get a seat in October. Apply today. Okay, we will talk about that. Zara doesn't have to answer that question. Zara, just tell us quickly about. We have like 3 minutes. Just tell us quickly about USCFP and how you can help, and can these students get your email address and then contact you later? And how does it work exactly? Please introduce USCFP to us.
Yes. Let me just first post a link in the chat. So basically, the way that it works is Education USA, perhaps not USCFP, but we're Education USA. We're a free advising service, so we help students with whatever questions they have with the application process. And we also review essays and we provide feedback. So I am one of the advisors in the Karachi office. We have two others. I put in the link in the chat. So the way that it works is you go to the website and you sign up for free advising services. You'll automatically be assigned an advisor, and then you can contact them, you can email them, you can message them on the mobile application. And if you can ask them any questions you have, and then if you need to discuss further, or if you have essays you want feedback on, or you want a longer discussion, you can set up virtual appointments with your advisor, and then they can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. So whether that's looking at your college list or your essay, or helping you understand financial aid, or looking at your CSS profile. Aside from that, Education USA also does workshops, and we're doing an essay writing workshop this summer. So almost everything that we do is free and accessible for students.
So this
I'll
essay writing workshop is going to be online, or it's going to be on your site?
It's gonna be on site. It's gonna be at the office. But everything else that we do, like all our advising services, can be virtual. So.
Okay. All right. Okay, Zara, I really feel bad about cutting it here, because I think I needed more. I had some more questions, but unfortunately, we are now completely out of time. So I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank Education USA and USCFP for helping our students out today. Thank you for your time. And if there is any one piece of advice that you want to give before we leave to students who are applying, very quickly in 30 seconds.
I would just say start early. This is the best thing you can do, because you need time to research, you need time to write your essay, you need time to prepare.
And Zara, starting early and applying early is also important for scholarships, because if the sooner you apply for a scholarship, the better.
Yeah, so there's early application and there's regular application.
Yeah.
And those cycles are different. And with early application, 60% of the incoming class is actually picked out in the early application. And that's also when the most scholarships are available. So definitely, it's important to think about that.
All right. Thank you so much indeed, Zara. I think we are going to do a phase two of this because there will be more questions as the students start applying. So maybe I'm going to request you to take out some more time later in the year sometime. But for today, thank you very much indeed. And inshallah, I will, and my students will definitely keep in touch with USCFP. Thank you very much indeed once again.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. Thank you for all your questions. I really enjoyed them. It's nice to meet a fellow philosophy major. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch. I'll let you know
Definitely.
about the essay writing workshops.
All right. Stay safe during this rainy season. Stay safe, everyone. All right. Take care. Khuda Hafiz.